Hey everyone, it's Richard Metalfan here, bringing you guys an old school album review. And today we're going to be looking into this album's 25th anniversary. And I should have reviewed this a few months ago when it was the actual anniversary of this album. But hey, better late than never, right? And as conceivable of the title, we're going to be talking about Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk by Emperor, the band's second album released in May of 1997 through Candlelight Records. Now, this album follows up their previous album, In the Nightside Eclipse, which in my opinion is still their best album and one of the best iconic albums in the black metal genre. And also for the occasion, I'm wearing my In the Nightside Eclipse shirt right here. And with this album coming off of The Nightside Eclipse, the band had a little lineup change. For one thing, their original drummer, Faust, had left the band or got kicked out. I can't really remember for say. And so they, from what I saw, according to the Metal Archives, they had a session, were rehearsing with a session drummer named Mephisto before they got Trim Torsen playing with them, and he's still pretty much their drummer to this day. And this album, it's kind of like continues, almost kind of in the vein of In the Nightside Eclipse a little bit. And just one thing to note, I feel like this production is a little bit better than on the Nightside Eclipse, but if not better, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Production wise, it's very raw sounding, still like typical black metal production has. The vocals from Ishan just sound really just evil and menacing on here, and his guitar playing along with Samoth's just go really well hand in hand. The bass on here I kind of wish was a little bit audible from Alvar, and Trim does a really great job. He's filling in those shoes that Faust has. So without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is I can't even speak today. Auswarter, The Oath. I probably butchered that. Now, this opened up the album, which almost has like a very epic feel to it. It's one of the longest intros to the metal album, and is indeed one of the most meaningful. And there's whispers and echoes that stemming from really great nooks and bottomless pits, accompanied by a dismal, more kind of like Moria slowly coming to life that evokes what should be left forgotten and forever dormant. And from what I've heard on Metal Archives, I heard this intro was composed by the late Euronymous from Mayhem. May rest in peace. I mean, I could be wrong. That was just from what I saw in the Metal Archives. But then it just goes into the next song, which is called Ye Entranciperium. Now, this song just comes barreling into the frame with the blazing hot tremolos. And it's just all riffs, all keyboards, all the time. And it's just no escaping it once you hear it. It's like Ishan just looked in the state of black metal at the time. Many a band trying their hand at recording their own versions of like old school black metal at the time and go into another direction with a more maximal kind of approach. Next song on the album is called Thus Spake the Night Spirit. Now, this song has haunting keyboards that carve out this smooth melody between like the razor riffing, whereas the former ends a measure with some really searing notes. It doesn't seem like much yet, it just hooks into the subconscious like a subliminal message. Next up is Ensorcelled by Chaos. Now, the title alone describes the well feelings for this album. This one opens up with a series of melodic and memorable riffs backing by sort of like majestic keyboards, only to play at a frantic pace. And there is like a slow part, or a long slow part, I can't even speak today, in the middle of the song, introduced by some fantastic keyboard section, which sustains all the way to the next riff change, and then the speed just goes up again towards like the very end, and the song finishes with the sound of guitar feedbacks, which conjures the mind of an image of the band just standing just in awe after performing this song. Next up is The Lost and Curse of Reverence. Now, this much takes the album standards even higher in terms of the complexity, and it could be described as like a pile of riffs from beginning to the very last chord, and without being fragmented or very incoherent. And the guitars unleash a very harmonic kind of attack, and the keyboards provide a kind of like a symphonic contribution. And Ishan sounds closer to like his older style in this one, which appears strange at first, but it's soon archived by the ears like welcome variation. Next up, we have the Acclimation of Bonds. Now, in my honest opinion, I think this is probably like my least favorite song on here. And this song opens up with a great intro, then offers many of the album's memorable riffs without sacrificing speed and power. But the keyboard adds a huge amount of atmosphere, as well as the hook on here following the more chaotic sections. But I feel like the guitars are semi-distorted in the mid-page section of the song. But when the frantic rhythm comes in again, the riff and the guitars play the very same end, featuring at the end of the Longing Spirits, which is the non-album tracks, which is on their Reverence EP, which came out that same year in 1987, only played obviously faster. Then we move on to With Strength I Burn. Now this song pretty much displays all sides of Emperor: the heavy side, the fast side, atmospheric side, and melodic side. Then we get to the last song, which is called The Wanderer. Now The Wanderer is instantly a memorable way to cap off this album, and it's a gorgeous, the album ends makes you wish there was more like Emperor kind of like emphasized the melodic writing more, and I obviously would hear that with Ishan in the solo career, but I just wish they would play it with Emperor. And this version I have is actually a reissue that Candlelight put out in 2004, and this has a couple bonus tracks which I want to also talk about. First off is In Longing Spirit and Opus A Satana. Now In Longing Spirit is also a bonus track, is a track from the Reverence EP that I just mentioned a moment ago, and it's a pretty good song. And then Opus A Satana is actually an orchestral version of In A Satana from In a Nightside Eclipse, and I actually like this version. And to be honest, it kind of gives a very kind of like grander, kind of epic feel to it. And then the last song is a live version of The Lost and Cursed Reverence, which pretty much kind of the same thing as the studio version, just has more of a, you could definitely feel it like the live presence that they execute as well as on the CD. So I pretty much have the same thoughts on it as well. Now overall, Anthems to Welkin at Dusk is a pretty good album. So if I get this on the score, I'm going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. So yep, that's my review of Anthems to Welkin at Dusk by Emperor, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.